Hello and welcome to the Roundtable podcast. Today we have a very special event with a guest and resident Buddhist monk by the name of Bhante Varapano. And we are going to do an Ask Me Anything about the practice of meditation and Buddhism, after which there will be a group meditation session. So before we get started, please follow and subscribe to us on the Roundtable podcast, which you can find on YouTube and BitChute. But most of all, make sure you join the Roundtable Discord server where we record this podcast every day at 8 p.m. So welcome, Bhante Varapano. Thank you very much for joining us today. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well.
That's great. So before we get started, I feel like I need to tell the story of how I met you, which was only today. We were literally in the process of announcing our very first ever meditation session on the server. Again, a server that's done hundreds of events and been here for well over a year. And Mr. Monk, Bhante Varapano, literally joined the server as I was making the announcement of the meditation event today. And then, of course, joined the chat, and we asked him to lead the event. So to say that this was a synchronicity or a coincidence, I think is a big understatement. And clearly this was something that was meant to happen. So, Mr. Bhante, do you want to give maybe an introductory talk, or do you want to just immediately open it up for questions?
Well, just to say a little bit about myself, I'm Bhante Varapano. I'm originally from America, and I've been training in Buddhism and meditation for 7 years, and ordained as a monk in Thailand 2 years ago. And I've been living predominantly in Southeast Asia since then. During the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, I've been very stuck in one place, so to speak. So I've gotten into a lot more teaching online, hosting meditation sessions online, like what we'll be doing shortly. And happy to be here, happy to be in the community, and looking forward to hearing some questions about meditation or Buddhism, maybe to clear the air before we go into the meditation practice.
All right, fantastic. So at this point, it will be open for anyone. It's an Ask Me Anything question and answer right now. So if anyone wants to ask a question, go ahead. Otherwise, I certainly have a few.
I have a question before you. So I wanna talk about storms. We find ourselves in storms. Life is ever changing, and it's always stressing. It's we find ourselves in a new storm, but this is the nature of life, I think. Life will never be what we want, but we need to be very calm, and we need to receive everything that happens to us with simplicity. But I'm having difficulties in how to do this. I tried meditation for just 5 times, but maybe, is there any shortcut?
There's no shortcut, just like there's no shortcut to lifting up 100 or 200 or 300 pounds. And the processes of the mind and how the mind works is a lot more subtle and intricate than muscle fibers. So you can imagine the depth of work and training and sincerity and coming back to resiliency that it takes to run a mile regularly, or to become a jogger, become someone who can run a marathon, someone who can bench press 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 pounds. Takes a lot of work, takes a lot of sincerity and practicality, engaging. So with the mind and with dealing with the mind and calming the mind down, training ourselves in relaxation and concentration, it also takes a lot of work. There's no shortcuts. There's no special pill. There's no special experience that can simplify our mind for us in such a way. So yeah, it's, I don't know about your situation exactly, but meditation definitely helped me on my path, and can definitely help us get to a more relaxed, open, I don't know if simplistic is the right word, but a more subtle mind, a more open mind. So if you want to simplify your mind, you should simplify your life without expectation. And meditation is a good means, a good vehicle in which to do that kind of practice.
Thank you. If I might ask another question.
Just one question at a time, please, and we'll allow other people to get a turn as well.
I'd like to ask you a question, Bhante. If you could just talk a little bit about your Buddhist tradition and how it's different from maybe the rest of Buddhism, like what is special about it, or?
This is, I'm ordained in the most traditional style of Buddhism, and I take a secular and an approach that is deeply connected with the Zen style. Many people have heard that word Zen, but it's actually quite an extensive and in-depth philosophical system and religion. So you could sum up my approach by calling it secular ethical Zen. And Buddhism in general starts with ethics. And then you can move on to meditation when you have a foundation of ethics or morality in terms of skillfulness of reducing suffering or causing less harm. And then moving into meditation, the training of relaxation and concentration, which come together to form kind of tranquility. And in Buddhism, we understand that wisdom really comes from tranquility. But in these questions before the meditation, as direct as they can be, that's going to help
So I'll
open the
ask
mind
a
for
direct.
meditative practice. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll ask a direct question. So, what would you say is the primary overarching goal of meditation?
For most people, I think it's to have a more relaxed experience, a more relaxed mind, to calm down, to bring peace into their lives. And also, meditation is an opportunity to train in concentration, to have a sharp mind, to have a clear mind, and a mind that can cut through confusions and delusions more readily, is less likely to get stuck in the mud, so to speak.
All right, thank you. Did anyone else have a question?
I have another one. This is more about the philosophy of Buddhism and Hinduism. So
Okay.
Hindus believe that the all is Brahman, and Brahman is beautiful, and it is worthy of love. But Buddhists believe that the all is not worthy of love or devotion. So, because Buddhists are saying that it is actually empty. It is not everything. It's also nothing. What do you think about it?
So Buddhism is not really a nihilistic religion. boundlessness is a better understanding of the nothingness in Buddhism. So it's this kind of all-expansive, non-conceptual, non-intellectual reality. And we understand that it's totally boundless. There's similarities with Hinduism and Buddhism in terms of the meditative background that they are connected with and the cultural background of that time when these religions were coming into being. But Buddhism is extremely distinct from Hinduism as a religion and as a school of philosophy. So it's there's not an emphasis on gods or deities or these kinds of creators, these kinds of things. It's not really focused on or emphasized in any capacity in Buddhism.
A follow-up question, if I may.
I really prefer one question at a time, as I mentioned earlier. So once you ask a question, it would then be up for anyone else who wants one before you would get another turn. Does anyone else want to take this turn? All right, so then I will ask one, which I imagine will dovetail into our meditation. But what is the form of meditation that you are thinking of using today? Because the two that I'm familiar with, one is called anapanasati, which I'm told is what the Buddha used under the Bodhi tree and is more or less inhalation and exhalation with awareness. And the other is called japa, which maybe is more Hindu and where we would chant mantras. But I know there's many other kinds. So I'm just wondering, what kind do you usually practice, or what kind are you thinking of leading us in today?
Well, we'll do a bit of body scanning practice, and then into some more independent awareness of breathing practice, and then finally closing with metta, or loving kindness practice, which is the planting seeds of loving friendliness and watering the seeds of loving friendliness that are there. So that's usually the process that I go through, and it'll all be guided, very self-explanatory, easy to follow along with. Secular in nature, you could say.
That's great. So it's up to you, Bhante, if you want to continue doing questions and answers, or whenever you're ready, we can begin the meditation.
Yeah, we can keep going with question and answers, and in about, let me see, in about 15 minutes or so, we can all take a 5-minute break, and then I'll take a step away, and when I come back, we'll start the meditation.
It sounds great. So if anyone else wants to ask a question, you can. And if not, we'll go back to my friend Rockstar. Go ahead, Rockstar.
Thank you. It's a really good opportunity. And I'm very glad to be able to ask questions. But the philosophy of Buddhism or Hinduism, they are always emphasizing the importance of reaching the state of non-dualism. They call it Vedanta. They call it the unified field. When you meditate, if you can reach there, and if you can transcend, there is a field which has this infinite creativity, bliss, and dynamic peace. And but I myself never could reach it. I was never there. But But I know there is truth in this philosophy. So I will talk about the philosophy now.
Well, I want to interrupt you for a second, Rockstar. So Bhante did say he appreciated the directness of questions. And when you ask a question, you're asking for information from somebody else. But every question you've asked has been very long-winded, very convoluted, and actually not a question. You've been telling him about things you believe or you've heard or you know, rather than asking questions. So I'm not sure if you quite understand the purpose of a question and answer, because you're not here to teach him about what you know, right? He's here to offer us his understanding. So I would highly encourage you to formulate a concise question and ask it. Each of your questions has been 5 to 6 minutes in length and usually doesn't even involve a question.
Because I mean, I don't think this is a. I cannot ask any simple question. Because
It should be easy, right? Stop and think, what do I want to know? What do I want him to tell me? What do I want to learn? And then ask it in 1 to 2 sentences. If you don't know that, then just leave it for someone else to ask the question, because he doesn't need to hear you talk about, your different ideas.
Okay, let me ask him if he wants to hear more.
Again, he said he valued
is,
concise questions. He said that already.
Yeah, the intention here is more before we get into the meditation practice. People may not have much experience with meditation or with what Buddhist meditation would look like in general. So this is kind of a space to ask some guiding questions to help you settle yourself, ground yourself in what is meditation? What does that look like? With what kind of mind do we approach the meditation practice? And that kind of mind is one that is putting aside intellectualism, that is putting aside the stories and the narratives that we have about our lives and our beliefs for just a few moments, and taking a breath and bringing the mind home to the body, turning attention inward rather than outward. So this is more just a few more minutes to to ask questions related to what is meditation, what does that look like, what will we be doing, that kind of thing, so that we feel comfortable and grounded going into the meditative environment.
So I'm going to ask an actual question now, and during that time, if Rockstar, you want to formulate a question, you can ask that question next, right? So my question is, can you explain a little bit about what metta meditation is?
So metta meditation, metta, this word means loving kindness or loving friendliness. And when we practice metta, we start with ourselves, and we use certain affirmations, positive affirmations, such as, may I be happy and peaceful, may I be gentle, may I be compassionate, may I be forgiving. And we repeat these affirmations slowly. And as we repeat them, we touch into the sincerity, the well of our inner capacity to be kind, to be friendly, to have this kind of self-love attitude. And as we tap into those capacities, we also, in some sense, take on the position of very intentionally of a gardener of our minds. And so we are both planting seeds of may I be peaceful, may I be happy, may I be loving. And we're also watering and nurturing the seeds and plants that are already there in our mind. And as we've gone through these many, many years of being alive, every experience, every contact that we have, our bodies with the environment, our minds with all the other minds that exist, seeds are being planted. And sometimes seeds of anger or mistrust or fear. And what we water, what we feed, what we nurture, those are the plants that grow and what bear fruit. So when we take this time to focus a little bit more on the seeds of metta, of loving friendliness, we're able to experience the fruits of those trees, those seeds.
Thank you. So
Thank
does
you.
anyone have another question?
If nobody has a question, I have a very small poem and a question. Rumi said this: I died as a mineral and became a plant. I died as a plant and rose to animal. I died as animal and I was man. Why should I fear? When was I less by dying? Yet once more I shall die as man, to soar with angels blessed. But even from angelhood I must pass on. All except God that perish. Then
Okay,
I
so
had
I'm going to interrupt you again because you just completely ignored, disrespected, and disregarded everything I just said to you, which was that every time you take an opportunity to ask a question, rather than asking a simple question, as I instructed you to do, and as Bhante generously offered to do, you give him a lecture, right? You give him a 5 to 6 minute teaching from your book of wisdom. If you want to schedule a podcast, we can do that. This is a question and answer period. And I told you that. I don't appreciate you ignoring what I said and doing the opposite of what I told you to do, which was to formulate a clear and concise question that could be asked in 1 to 2 sentences. So you're going to lose your turn, actually, and I'm going to mute you if this continues. This is completely like, this is an ask me anything with a Buddhist monk. You can ask him any question you want, and yet every time you talk, you think you have some profound wisdom to teach him that's going to take 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then you're going to ask 2, 3 questions in a row. It's frankly ridiculous, and I don't appreciate it. And I apologize to Bhante as well.
Oh, no worries.
So does anyone have a question ending with a question mark?
I have a question. How long do you meditate every day?
Each day is different. You know, it's not, I don't have a set schedule. I have a lot of independence in my practice. So it can be anywhere from less than an hour to 3 or more hours on a regular day. And in meditation retreats can be, 6 to 8 hours plus.
So I have a question, if I can ask one. It's a two-part. The first is, how long have you been a meditating Buddhist? And second question that follows is enlightenment something you have achieved? Is it something you have glimpses of? Or is it something you're still working on?
So I've been a Buddhist meditator since 2014. And in Buddhism, something like enlightenment, anyone who would claim to be enlightened is almost assuredly not enlightened. But I'm certainly not. And, somewhat of a beginner after many intensive meditation retreats, solitary retreats, now being a monk. So there's you can understand how wide the skill gap or the experience gap can be from a normal human being, even an athletic one, in terms of something like basketball or weightlifting, and a professional, a bodybuilder or a professional basketball player, NBA player. Wow, the gap is unimaginable. It's incomprehensible. LeBron James and a normal athletic person, even a very athletic person. The same with a pro level weightlifter and a normal athletic person. The skill gap is incredible. So with the mind, with meditation, so much more so. I mean, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more so this skill gap, because the mind is very subtle. And so when we get into meditation practice, it's quite worthwhile to put aside these ideas of grandeur and, special experiences, special attainment, special understanding. All these, more often than not, can be barriers to real development and real cultivation. And the highest spiritual powers or experiences in Buddhism are being more compassionate, being powerfully compassionate, practicing non-anger, non-greed, non-delusion regularly. And you can see people like Thich Nhat Hanh, the Dalai Lama, many worldwide respected ethical leaders in the field of Buddhism, just incredibly compassionate, loving, powerfully minded people. And they would never claim to be enlightened. They would never claim to have special powers or special quote unquote experiences. Because in Buddhism, the special powers and the special experiences are gentleness, kindness, tenderness, forgiveness, generosity, patience, etc. And the more that you get involved with real spiritual practice, real meditation practice, the higher your valuation will go of these practices, these experiences, these feelings or energies, these positive mental states. And the lower, to at least some degree, your valuation will go of these general, vague kind of spiritual things, astral projection, uh, kind of absolutist ideas of what is reality really like, become very secondary and very ancillary to being kind in difficult situations and noticing when we get angry and not pursuing that anger. So I think now is a good time to stop the Q&A portion and take about a 5 or less than 10-minute break, and then we can all mute ourselves and get into the meditative position. And in about 5 to 10 minutes or less, I'll come back and we'll start the meditation. Okay?
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you for the question and answer. It is currently 8 o'clock Central, so we will reconvene or meditate until 8:05, and then we'll begin the meditation approximately then. Thank you.
Test, test, test.
Yeah, we hear you, Saigo.
Sorry, all this is going to be edited out. I don't mean to interrupt the meditation session. Craigbot is telling me that he hasn't heard anything in a while, and I don't want him to drop out. So that's all.
Well, it's okay because we'll probably just upload the question and answer period, probably. We could upload his introduction and meditation, but the actual meditation itself being silent, there's no point in, well, you can record it, but we at least recorded the first part.
Fair enough.
We'll get started in a few more minutes here. Okay, so welcome everyone to the group meditation. I am your host, Bhante Warapanyo. And for anyone whose first time it is meditating today, we start off by just getting into a comfortable position. finding the position of our bodies. And our bodies are one of the most important things that we need to bring or to have with us to really practice meditation. So beginning to bring our attention to the body and the position that we are in. So it may be sitting cross-legged on the floor with a meditation cushion. It may be sitting in a chair. If you're quite new to meditation, then sitting in a chair can be a very good position for meditation practice. And if you are sitting in a chair, just bringing some attention to your shoulders being back, not hunched over, not tense, just upright, but also relaxed is the kind of mindset that we're bringing to meditation practice. Upright, but also relaxed. And if you're particularly anxious or have issues with physical pain, you can lay down during the meditation practice, but it's very likely that as meditation progresses, if you are laying down, that you'll fall asleep quite quickly. And when we meditate, part of the practice is to relax, but also to concentrate. So we don't want to fall into this dull sleepiness. But for some people, just need to relax. So it's okay to lay down. So finding that physical position of the body, bringing the attention to your body in space at this moment. Feeling the breath coming into the body and going out. You can even take a few deep breaths, 2 or 3 deep breaths to really accentuate the physicality of the breath and the feeling of the breath. Calming down, centering the body. Noticing that the body is here. The body is a part of our lives, our experience at this moment. Breathing. And now also bringing our attention to the quality, the state of our mind at this moment. We may notice that there's a lot of thoughts coming up. Or maybe we're feeling anxious or antsy. We're kind of just stuck here for a few moments, but we can't wait to get away to our next activity. Or maybe feeling a bit relaxed, a bit calm. Maybe a bit curious. So noticing the state of the mind, the quality of the mind, and checking in to your intention. Do you want to practice meditation? Is that something you're interested in? So checking into that intention, that interest. And if you do want to practice meditation, why? What kind of reason do you have for wanting to practice meditation? So setting that intention, touching into that intention, why you want to practice meditation. Recognizing that this is an opportunity to do so. And then setting it in your mind that you're now going to practice meditation. So setting that intention to practice for, even if only for a few minutes, to really practice, to really put yourself into the practice. And bringing the awareness back to the body and the mind, the breath. We will start and end our meditation session with the sound of the bell. So I'm going to ring the bell, and as you hear it, listening to it, take it as an invitation to step into the meditative practice, following along with the breath and the guidance given. The bell as an invitation to practice meditation. So as we begin the practice of meditation, bringing our attention to the feeling of the breath as it comes in through the nose. Breathing fully and deeply, feeling the breath filling up the lungs, and exhaling through the nose. Setting our attention and our focus not on the past or the future, but just this feeling, this direct feeling of the breath coming in through the nose, filling up the lungs, and exhaling. Being aware of the breath. Meditation is not something that's normally done. It's a rare opportunity to really practice meditation. Turn our attention inward and to just be, rather than chasing after something or running away from something. There's nothing about meditation that has anything to do with perfection or experiencing some special state. Setting the mind, relying on this feeling of the breath coming in through the nose, filling up the lungs, and exhale. With each breath, we are bringing the mind home to the body, establishing ourselves in the present moment. So rather than doing with the mind or following around the mind like a lost puppy, noticing the mind, noticing the running thoughts, the feeling that, oh, I need to stop doing this, I need to go and do something else. Noticing that, and then returning to the breath. Returning to the present. In meditation, there's a kind of simplicity that we're working with here. Breathing in, we bring the wandering mind, the running around mind, home to the body. And breathing out, we relax and we ground ourselves, establish ourselves in presence, in just being. And now with this ability, this experience of being aware of the mind, thoughts, being aware of the breath as it comes in through the nose and fills up the lungs. Taking that practice, being aware of, and putting it onto the legs. Being aware of the legs at this moment, the physical experience, feeling of the legs. Throughout this practice, rather than relying on the mind or thoughts, take the breath as an anchor into the present. So even if you get distracted or confused, return to the breath rather than the thinking mind. We have a very strong idea of our bodies, of my body, my legs. But just for a moment, rather than looking to the idea of our bodies, the idea of our legs. What do we notice? What is the experience of having legs like at this moment? What kind of sensations do we notice in the legs? And any sensations or feelings that you have as you put your attention onto the legs, just acknowledge them without judgment. So if you feel a pain or a discomfort, just acknowledging it, not judging it, and returning back to the breath and this practice of being aware of. Now putting our attention onto the pelvis area, the pelvis and the rear, the hips, the bottom of the spine. What do we feel in this area? Not looking for anything in particular, just noticing. We may not feel much of anything at all, maybe a kind of empty feeling. Just notice that. Being with the breath and noticing. The pelvis area. Now moving upwards to the breath, the stomach. The lower back, the lower spine. Rather than trying to have some special experience, we're simply changing the way that we engage with our lives. Rather than doing, we are observing. Rather than judging, we are noticing and being okay with. This is the real practice of meditation. Noticing the inside and out, what sensations are arising in the stomach, in the lower back, the lower torso area. Moving upwards into the rib cage, the middle of the back. the lungs expanding in the torso. The upper back and the chest. Perhaps noticing the heartbeat. With something like the heartbeat, even if you put your attention onto it, you may not feel it. This is really at the heart of simply being aware of, without expectation. Even if we don't feel the heart beating in the area of the heart, simply being present, being aware, without expectation, without needing things to be a certain way. Being okay with things as they are in this moment. Now putting our attention onto the shoulders and the arms. What do the shoulders and the arms and the hands feel like at this moment? What do you notice? What is the quality of your mind at this moment? What is the quality of your arms, your shoulders, your hands at this moment? And rather than relying on your thoughts or your ideas to answer this question, relying on presence, relying on the breath and being aware of. The answer to what kind of experience are you having right now is not a word or a thought or a story, but rather it's that very experience. So allow your body and mind, your presence, your awareness to unfold as it is, being comfortable with things as they are at this moment. Finally, bringing our awareness, our attention to the head area, the neck and the head. Noticing the sensations, feelings, tensions that go along with having a head and a neck at this moment. What do you notice? Maybe some tension in the face or a headache. Whatever it is, breathing, acknowledging, not judging. Accepting whatever you're feeling this moment. And allowing that awareness from your head area as you breathe to gently and naturally flow into the rest of your body. Becoming more and more aware of the body sitting here, laying here, the body at this moment. As you ground yourself in the breath, allowing that bodily awareness to flow out to all parts of the body. If you feel comfortable to do so, you can say to yourself with your inner voice or outwardly, "Hello, my body. I see you. I am here for you. Don't worry." And if our eyes are closed, we can gently begin to open them. As we breathe, allowing that awareness of the body to also flow out into our environment. Awareness of our body sitting here at this moment in the environment. Now noticing the state, the quality of our mind and of our body. This next portion of our meditation will be a kind of meditation within a meditation. So for anyone out there who's interested in having a meditation practice of their own, this is a really good time to try that out. The basic practice of meditation is mindfulness of the breath, awareness of breathing. And when we practice mindfulness of the breath or awareness of the breathing, it's important that we approach it with a somewhat simple, calm, and collected mind, and also a somewhat relaxed body. And for many of us at this moment, I imagine that that's somewhat the situation that we're in. So this practice of meditation, which you can learn the method of very easily, very simply, and then practice on your own, is to put your attention onto the breath. The feeling of the breath physically. Perhaps the feeling of the breath as it comes in through the nose, or the feeling of the breath in the lungs and the stomach as it expands and contracts. You may also have a more general feeling of I am breathing, or the body is breathing. And putting your focus onto the breath in that way, the mind will naturally wander. Maybe we feel a painful sensation or something uncomfortable in the body, and the mind starts grabbing onto that, chasing after that. Oh, I need to get up, I need to move. I've got to change this situation. Or maybe we start to feel kind of very relaxed and pleasant, and we start slipping into a dullness or a sleepiness. Or maybe we just start thinking thoughts. We start getting very carried away with our thoughts. The real practice of meditation is to set the mind on the breath. And when you notice the mind wandering around, wandering away, in whatever way it does, pleasant or unpleasant, or just feeling bored, when you notice that the mind has wandered in that way, gently bringing the mind back to the breath. Breath by breath, for a short amount of time, bringing the mind, the wandering mind, home to the body. And we're bringing this quality of naturalness, gentleness, care to this practice. So we're not forcing anything, we're not fighting anything, but rather we notice the mind wandering around, and then we gently allow our attention, rather than chasing after that mind, to return back to the breath, settling on the breath. So now within our group meditation practice, we'll do a mini independent practice. So this is really an opportunity for you to try out what practicing meditation on your own looks like, but with the added benefit of this container of meditation, with this community of people who are really coming together sincerely and practicing. It can inspire us to try it out, to do this exercise together for just a few minutes. So beginning and ending with the sound of the bell, we'll do 10 minutes, just 10 minutes of this independent meditation practice. There's a Zen saying that when we practice meditation, we practice alone together. And before we go into this, which will begin and end with the sound of the bell, I'll just read a little meditation guidance from the Dalai Lama. So getting into your meditation position, taking a deep breath, relaxing, gathering yourself, appreciating this opportunity to practice in this community that we're in, allowing the Dalai Lama to set the tone for the next 10 minutes of our lives. Generally speaking, our mind is predominantly directed towards external objects. Our attention follows after the sense experiences. It remains at a predominantly sensory and conceptual level. In other words, normally our awareness is directed towards physical sensory experiences and mental concepts. But in this exercise of meditation, what you should do is withdraw your mind. Don't let it chase after or pay attention to sensory objects. At the same time, don't allow it to be so totally withdrawn that there is a kind of dullness or lack of mindfulness, attentiveness. You should maintain a very full state of alertness and mindfulness, and then see the natural state of your consciousness, a state in which your consciousness is not afflicted, but rather aware of thoughts of the past, the things that have happened, your memories and remembrances. Nor is it afflicted by thoughts of the future, like your future plans, anticipations, fears, and hopes. But rather, for the next 10 minutes, following the breath, try to remain in a natural and neutral state.
Hello? Is anything going
Yeah,
on here?
I'm sorry. We're having a meditation, as the channel says, meditation. So
Oh,
shut
sorry.
up.
Very, I'll shut up.
Thank you. What the?
Setting our mind on the breath and the body, we notice the wandering mind the chasing mind, the desiring mind, and we come back to breath. This is the practice of meditation. In closing our practice today, I'll share just a few words of metta or loving kindness practice. And if you would like, you can repeat after me, setting these intentions in your mind and sincerely and heartfeltly expressing these intentions with these few words of loving friendliness. So if you like, you can repeat after me, but also you can just listen. And this will be the ending of our session.
Thank you so much, Mr. Monk, Mr. Bhante. I really appreciate it. And I do want to propose, if you'd be interested, making this meditation gathering, Sangha, if you will, a weekly thing. And I don't mind asking you, is that something you'd be interested in?
May I be well, happy, and peaceful.
Indeed so. May you be, and may we all be.
Repeating after me and really putting the sincerity into it, tapping into that energy of loving friendliness for yourself. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May you, whoever you are, be well, happy, and peaceful. May you, whoever you are, be well, happy, and peaceful. May you, whoever you are, be well, happy, and peaceful. And finally, as we feel that metta, that energy of loving friendliness in ourselves, and also our capacity to offer it outwardly to others, allowing that feeling of friendliness to fill up our body and to flow out in all directions, saying, may all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings throughout space end time. Be well, happy, and peaceful. Okay, that's the end of our meditation. Good job, everyone. For those who attended for the full session, that was a good, pretty solid, almost hour of meditation. So really pat yourself on the back and transitioning out of the meditation practice, the meditation vibes in a kind of gentle and slow way, and
Drink water.
going into the rest of your night or the rest of your day, whatever it may be for you. So
Yeah,
thanks
I just
for
want to
attending,
thank you for
everyone.
spending. Oh,
And if anyone has questions or wants to reach out to me to learn more about these events or anything like that, you
Well,
can direct message me on Discord. So
thank you.
thank you,
Let me
everyone,
just
for
say,
attending.
yes. Let me just say, first of all, thank you so much, Bhante Monk, for doing this. I really appreciate it. Sorry for interrupting earlier, not understanding the flow of the event. But I did want to repeat my question, right? So on this server, we do a lot of recurrent events and regular series. I don't want to ask too much of you. You've already volunteered your time for this event. But is this something you might be willing or interested in doing repeatedly? Because, you know, as you see, we've got about 10 to 13 people here today, and we could probably make that a regular thing. Is that something you'd be interested in? And of course, we could advertise your server and so forth.
That would be awesome.
Okay, great. Was that Mr. Monk who said that, though? I mean, it's up to you. If you want to make it just a one-time thing, of course that's okay, right? But I'm just asking.
It would definitely be cool. I'm happy to have members of the server joining in. The thing is that I do this kind of thing daily, you know, sometimes more than once daily, and I have my own server where I post announcements, but I also have there's a larger server that I'm partnered with that I make announcements on. So you know, I'd be happy to, if you all just want a specific day where you want to invite your members to join. But it's a lot better for me to use Discord, or
well, we
excuse
always
me,
use
Zoom.
Discord.
Zoom
Okay,
for
so
my meetings.
again,
Because I
it's
also
100.
have people who want to attend from my community.
So it's 100% fine and up to you.
Yeah.
If this was a one-time thing that happened just this one time, then that's fantastic. But what I would invite you to do is be a regular guest on our podcast, on our daily roundtable special event where we do a Sangha meeting like this. If you want to make a partner channel on your server, as I mentioned to you, we'll be more than happy to partner with you. And if you want to be a regular guest here, we can advertise and cross promote your server. But we'll discuss that later. Either way, thank you for being a guest today. Thank you for leading us through a meditation. And I hope we can do
Yeah, it
it
was
again
wonderful.
sometime.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
hope
just
so
want to
too.
say
I
thank
think
you.
we'll be able to
Oh,
work something out. So, you know, so people will be able to join in the server, even if it's just once a week, then that's cool.
Well, it's a win-win that works like this, right? You come here once a week. You take 1 to 2 hours out of your day to do a meditation. We partner with your server. We advertise events with your server. We can link your podcasts and so forth. And you can get a few hundred or a few thousand people who view it through the roundtable. If that's interesting to you, then great. If not, then great. But I mean, either way, it was really coincidental that you joined our server today when we did this meditation session. And, you know, I can certainly shout it out to your Zoom or whatever, but you need to make a partner channel on your server. But either way, that's all stuff we can figure out later. So thank you again, Bhante. Thank you, Bertha, and everybody else. And why don't we jump up to the round table one, if you guys want to talk some more, or RT debate, I guess.
I just have one thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to thank you for your time.
Agreed.
Very welcome.
Second. Thank you, sir. And yeah, it was
Okay,
great.
so
And I mean,
see
we'll
you all again
advertise you
sometime.
in any way we can. 100%. Thank you.
Take care.